Hello, my name is Peyton Pisano, and today I will be presenting to the members of the World Literacy Foundation about the trends in adult female literacy rates across different regions of the world. By exploring these trends, we can use data driven methods collected by the World Bank, as well as previous findings from the World Literacy Foundation, to find solutions on what steps we can take to eradicate global illiteracy. This presentation is focusing on adult female literacy specifically because out of the 250 million adults who are illiterate, two-thirds of them are women. Women are disproportionately impacted by illiteracy, so by placing the focus on adult female literacy rates, we are one step closer to ending global illiteracy and increasing equality between both men and women. Now, this first chart represents global adult female literacy rates across different regions of the world. These are the countries that have reported to the World Bank within the past 5 years of what their country's adult female literacy rates are, and any country that has not reported to the World Bank within 5 years is in gray. From the first map chart, you can see that the majority of global illiteracy rates are from countries within Africa. Global regions such as South America, Europe, and the South Asia and Pacific region have all been successful in increasing their adult female literacy rates in their respective regions. However, these regions have not always been successful in having high literacy rates. In the early 1980s, the adult female literacy rate in the East Asia and Pacific region was below the world average. Now, this region is significantly above the world average and it has achieved an adult female literacy rate of over 90%. By further exploring this data and the potential causes for the East Asia and Pacific region's significant growth, we can help other regions, such as the sub-Saharan Africa, achieve an over 90% adult female literacy rate as well. Now, upon further analysis of the East Asian and Pacific region, Brunei, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Vanuatu, and Vietnam are some of the countries that experience the largest growth and help contribute to this increased rate of adult female literacy within the East Asian and Pacific region. These countries all self-reported literacy rates in the late 1970s to early 1980s, as well as in 2018. From this data, the increase in adult female literacy rates ranged from a 16% increase, which was reported from Vietnam, to a 44% increase, which was from China. By 2018, most countries within the East Asia and Pacific region achieved an adult female literacy rate between 94% and 96%, with the exception of Vanuatu, which achieved an adult female literacy rate of 87%. However, it's important to note that in the late 1970s, when Vanuatu reported its adult female literacy rate, it was at 48%, which is the lowest of all of the countries within this region. So even though Vanuatu currently has the lowest adult female literacy rate in the East Asia and Pacific region with 87%, its 39% growth within 40 years is still significant and deserves to be noticed. Now, after examining this region and all of its countries, there are two important questions we must ask. What factors contributed to these countries nearly doubling their female literacy rates in 40 years? And how can the sub-Saharan Africa use those same strategies to increase their female literacy rates as well? From studies and findings found by the World Literacy Foundation and supplemental data found by the World Bank, I have suggestions on how the World Literacy Foundation and the respective countries can work together to eradicate global illiteracy. First, we will be examining primary education in both East Asia and Pacific countries, as well as primary education in Africa, to see the role it plays in contributing to the adult female literacy rates. Now, the World Literacy Foundation has found that in sub-Saharan Africa, only 64% of primary school teachers have the minimum requirements for training. This suggests that improper primary education could be a contributing factor in Africa's low literacy rates. Now, when analyzing the primary school enrollment for East Asian and Pacific countries, there was a range between 100% and 119% in the past 40 years. The World Bank suggests that the primary school education exceeding 100% enrollment could have been due to students repeating a grade or students taking classes that exceeded the typical age of a primary school student. The fairly consistent primary education rate in the East Asian and Pacific countries suggests that primary education rates may not be a major contributing factor in increasing female literacy rates, at least for this specific region. So in this graph, we are seeing that Africa has had a positive trend in increasing primary school education rates. from going of a range of 70% to a range of 100%. Now, even though it might not be a contributing factor in increasing its adult female literacy rates, especially when the previous statistic found that 64% of primary school teachers do not even have the minimum requirements for training. So, while placing children in the classroom is a top priority, we must focus on ensuring that these students are being properly taught lessons that will help increase each student's literacy skills. Now, the World Literacy Foundation has provided suggestions on how we can improve literacy rates in Africa, such as teaching in the mother tongue of the country. Most primary education taught in Africa is taught in English or in another language that is not native to the specific region. This adds another layer of difficulty for students who are struggling to learn even one language. Because if you're struggling to learn one language, it'll be even more difficult for you to comprehend and understand the first language when you're already struggling to learn a second language, because most students, even ones who are fairly literate, have a hard time picking up a second language. Now, if lessons were taught in the native language of the country, communication between students and teachers could be enhanced, and overall learning and comprehension would improve. Now, the next suggestion by the World Bank is to instill a love for reading, which is through books and classroom lessons. By sharing creative, engaging, and intriguing stories to students at an early age, you can foster a love for reading, which will in turn increase a student's ability to read, write, spell, listen, and speak. While these two suggestions are incredibly valuable factors to increase children literacy rates, and these children will eventually grow up and to become literate adults, by studying the East Asian Pacific graph and the Africa graph, and looking at findings from the World Literacy Foundation, another factor that can be used to increase adult female literacy rates should be to focus on adult education and not just primary education. By increasing low cost adolescent and adult literacy programs, there will be a stronger and more positive impact on the entire community as a whole, because literate parents, especially mothers, are more likely to send their children to school and be involved in their children's education compared to illiterate parents. So, by investing our money in adult female literacy programs, not only will we be improving their lives, however, we will also be improving the lives of their children as well. Now, further research conducted by the World Literacy Foundation has found that 115 million youths still lack the basic digital literacy skills, which is yet another contributing factor that could be impairing on the low adult female literacy rates that are on a global scale. Now, the East Asia and Pacific countries have had a steady positive increase in internet usage from the 1980s to 2019. The World Literacy Foundation has also found that the internet can significantly improve the quality of education for students. So we can assume that there might potentially be a positive correlation between the increased internet access and increased literacy rates on a global scale. From this data, one action we can take from it would be to place affordable tablets and other mobile devices into classrooms to allow for more learning resources, such as e-textbooks and live stream lessons. While examining the self-reported literacy rates for countries in sub-Saharan Africa, some countries that members of the World Literacy Foundation should place its focus on in the upcoming years are Ethiopia, Liberia, Mali, Nigeria, South Sudan, and Sudan, because all of these countries have adult female literacy rates that are below 60%. Moving forward, we can use the data we collected from the East Asian Pacific countries to see the roles that primary education and internet access may have played in increasing the adult female literacy rates in their respective countries. We also should take the information collected by the World Bank and the World Literacy Foundation, because these findings align with one another. Now, my action plan for the World Literacy Foundation will be to focus on improving the quality of primary education, increasing adult literacy programs, increasing internet access and online resources, and by improving all of these factors in the sub-Saharan African countries, we can focus on these three goals, and hopefully in the next few decades, Africa will have an average adult female literacy rate of over 90% as well. Thank you so much for listening.